Ready? All right. Ready? Yeah. Okay. So all right. So we are going to be presenting on the Nashville Federal Courthouse. We are Badger Build Contracting, and I am the project manager. My name is Vinny Wien.
I'm Alex Blake, I'm the safety coordinator. I'm Ryan Arts, the project superintendent.
And I'm Bronson Rochelle, I'm the intern for the project.
So a little bit of a summary about the project. It's a 6-story courthouse with an underground parking garage. The building footprint is just under 47,000 square foot, but the actual total project is about 290,000 square feet. Project costs coming in at $87,015,000, and our project duration is looking at about 866 calendar days with a completion date in 2022. And floors 2 through 6 are core and shell construction with build out to be completed at a future date.
So at Badger Builds here, we have a few advantages that kind of sets us apart from our competitors. So Badger Builds has an extensive history of constructing municipal buildings across the country. So we've been in business for over 100 years, and throughout our entire lifetime as a company, we've been constructing these type of municipal buildings all over the country, everything from courthouses to other municipal buildings for multiple government projects. We also have numerous office locations around Nashville area to service customer needs. So we're right in the area. We know the area pretty well, and we're available just down the road so that if something happens with the project or there's any type of owner issues, we can easily be there quickly and we can address the issue as needed instead of having to have a long trip or something like that some of the competitors may have. We are family and goal oriented, so when it comes to working with us, we work like a family. We really like to have that personal connections with our clients. We're not only about the project and the bottom line, we're about making that connection and having kind of a personal feeling about it. So we also merit shop mentality. So we're all about the high quality product, being proud of our work, and making sure that we do a good job on the project. We use only the most skilled trades to ensure a high quality product for the customer. So this means that we also pick good partners as far as our subcontractors that we decide to work with. So we're only going after skilled tradesmen who know the trade well. We've had a history of working with these subcontractors and they're a reputable person, so that we're not put in a position where we feel like the quality of one of the subs wasn't there, or the owner just feels like they didn't get what they wanted out of that subcontractor. So we make sure we pick the right partners going into it so that we can have the good final product at the end of the project.
All right, our core values. At Badger Builds, we have 3 main core values. The first one is ownership. Badger Builds takes great pride in their work and in all of our projects, and we strive to provide a high quality product for the owner. Innovation. Badger Builds only uses the latest construction technologies to increase efficiency and decrease construction costs. And passion. At Badger Builds, all of our employees are highly dedicated to this industry, and we care deeply about our final products.
So one of the biggest items on the project is the quality control, but we want to make sure that at the end of the day, the owner is getting a product that everybody's happy with, that the building is something that we can be proud of, they can be proud of owning, and they don't feel like they got cheated somewhere along the line. So we have a few standards set in place to make sure that this happens throughout the duration of the project. So all cast in place and precast concrete is to experience rigorous testing. So in our quality control plan, we have it set where both in the plants, whether it be the batch plant for the cast in place or the precast manufacturing plant, there's some rigorous testing where our quality control manager will be working directly with the quality control manager of the plants that are producing these products to ensure that all of our paperwork gets filled out, everything is documented very well, and our quality control manager will also be making random visits unannounced to these manufacturing places to make sure that what is being made is truly what we expect, especially when, unannounced visits, you kind of surprise them, so that means they're not slacking when, they're not expecting you. Structural steel kind of experiences the same kind of thing. We will have unannounced visits to the steel manufacturer to make sure that the final product we get is high quality, There's no manufacturing errors, anything like that in the product. It'll also be inspected when it gets to site to make sure that there's nothing that happened on transportation or any sort of issues like that. The quality control expert is on site and watching all stages of the project. So we will have a full-time quality control manager on site to make sure that at all stages, we are getting the utmost quality of everything from foundations all the way to the finishes on the product or on the project. The final product will experience multiple internal punch lists prior to the architect coming out for his punch list. So as the areas of the project get finalized, we will do our own internal check to make sure that all the problems or any little details of it get addressed prior to the architect coming out. This will help limit the punch list when the architect comes out from this huge list that's overwhelming to everybody. It'll help minimize that stress, and it'll also help with the schedule to make sure that these items don't get pushed late on in the project. They get addressed early, right when the room is finished, so that then any lead times or any items that may have an issue, they can start coming then instead of having to wait for the architect to point the problem out. So that's kind of what we worked on to make sure the quality of the product comes out very well.
Safety. Badger Builds takes great pride in their safety. We'll ensure that the project is exceeding all the OSHA standards at both the state and federal levels. Make sure that we have a full-time safety specialist on site at all times, along with our superintendents and foremen who are trained in to make sure that all the subs and everybody are following everything that they should be. Along with the new current times, we'll make sure to follow all the CDC and local and state recommendations to make sure everyone stays safe from the COVID-19 pandemic.
So public safety and surrounding conditions. The safety of the public surrounding construction site is of utmost importance to us as a company and our field workers on site. So we have planned deliveries to limit traffic congestion on the surrounding roads, and basically that means regulating times of when deliveries can come in and out to mitigate the risks of high traffic periods, whether it's in the morning commute to work or after work or lunch or whatever it may be. One of the ways that we do that is through flow-through deliveries, and that's coming in one end of the project and leaving out the other instead of having to come in and back out and turn around. That's a pretty big safety risk, not only to the guys on site, but to the pedestrians of the surrounding walking areas. That was a big way that we were able to kind of mitigate those risks. And yeah, just ensuring that there will be no major interruptions to surrounding traffic. That'll be an increase in safety signage and personnel along the roadways to just manage the safety of the public.
All right, our schedule accuracy. We understand that schedule is one of the most important parts of this project. We're going to work as hard as we can to meet or exceed all of the significant dates in our project schedule, all of our milestone dates. And our project manager will continuously update the schedule back to the owner and reflect the new working conditions on site.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be a part of this proposal.
All right, well, thank you for that. So we've got a handful of questions. We'll go ahead and move into the Q&A portion. If you're ready, we'll do that in kind of a round robin format. I'll start with one or two, and then we'll turn it over to Amanda and her team there in Nashville. And then we'll let Daniel and Chris Woodling, if he jumps on, throw some questions out at you guys. But one of the first ones I wanted to ask was, our RFP was looking for a MWBE goal to be hit. I didn't see any mention of that in your all's proposal package. Do you guys have a specific MWBE target that you're proposing to hit, and can you elaborate on how you'll get there?
So we would like to receive 5% of our subcontractors that are contracted underneath of us as either manufacturers or as labor to be meeting this goal. We are hoping to, when this project goes out for bid, or I should say, we will then be picking our partners to incorporate this goal and making sure that we do meet this 5% requirement that we are setting for ourselves.
All right, thanks for that. Amanda, did you and your team have any questions you want to throw in?
Yeah, if I can ask you guys, can you guys elaborate on your crane plan? What kind of cranes do you guys intend on bringing on site, and how many will you have for the subcontractors on board?
I believe we looked at having 2 100-ton rough terrain cranes on site. And for subcontractor hoisting, we just have to coordinate with the general contractor, and we can handle all of their needs.
We also added the possibility to a 5th floor landing deck for us to be able to hoist up there for subcontractor needs as well. So we can start hoisting material up to the 5th level to help with the construction of those floors as well.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
So I got a couple questions on your estimate, and one kind of piggybacks off of Amanda's question. You guys said you had 2 tower cranes or 2 cranes, either crawler or tower, but there's nothing in your estimate that covers a tower crane or a crawler crane. How do you plan on covering those costs?
It's built into our general conditions. It might not be in that extensive layout, but we rolled it into one of the other categories.
So it's separate from the line item in the GCs of crane?
Correct.
Okay. The other question I had was traffic control. You guys talked about traffic control earlier. There wasn't any traffic control in your estimate. How do you plan on covering that?
That would be with our GC cost as well. The traffic control would be very limited. It's not an overly extensive process. It's more of as needed, like a flag or 2 if we have a set delivery time, because we set specific times as to when our deliveries are allowed to come in due to the traffic conditions. So in that specific short window, if we have a couple deliveries coming in, it'd be more of a temporary quick setup instead of a continual like constant road closure or anything like that. So that cost would be pretty minimal.
Okay.
So a question about previous experience. So you guys mentioned having offices in and around Nashville, but the 2 projects that you referenced as previous experience was in Fort Lauderdale and California. What projects have you done recently in the Nashville market?
Those weren't necessarily municipal projects. We were part of the Titan Stadium and those kind of projects. We just related these projects back to what Nashville is looking to build with this courthouse.
Okay, and then so follow-up question to that. You guys probably know, being there, how busy Nashville is in construction. So have you guys looked into the local market as far as labor shortages and how to go try to mitigate that for the project?
We will work with our subcontractors to make sure that any labor shortage kind of issues will be handled, and that they will be, before we write the contracts to them, we will make sure that they are able to meet all requirements and that they have the labor staffed up and not going to go try to look for them and then all of a sudden there's a shortage and we're kind of stuck with that issue. So we'll make sure that they have the staff on hand and are not overbooked to be able to handle the issue.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys, Brent, a few questions, mostly for material movement. So you talked about using some rough terrain cranes. Are you planning on putting a luffing jib on there to reach the penthouses, or what's your plan there?
Yeah, if needed, we can put a jib on there. We're hoping on having a tall enough crane so that we can reach it on its own without it, but if it's needed, depending on what's available, that's definitely an option.
Okay. How do you guys plan with such a big, between levels 3 and 5, it looks like there's a gap in the floor plate. how do you guys plan to get tall materials in there for your priority things that you have to install? Studs, whatever it may be, for the walls that you have to build.
Are you talking about like the steel on it or the or one that's already?
Yeah, it's kind of the radius area. It looks like there's a big gap. You guys have it sounds like you were gonna do a material hoist. Do you have a plan to get the taller material into the building there, or how's that gonna work?
Yeah. So we have it figured for a crow's nest to be able to hoist it up to the various floors, so that we can get that type of material in there, to be able to fit those type of spaces. I think that answers the question if I understand it correctly. To be able to furnish those open areas, yeah, we'll be using a crow's nest to be able to get that large material up in there.
We also looked at leaving some of the precast panels off one end of the building that we can get longer material inside.
Okay, great. That's all I got.
I have another question. Based on the site utilization plan, it looks like you guys are going to be working for a little while until you have trailers on site for the staff. It does look like you guys have a really good sized staff, which is great, but what's your plan on housing those folks, office-wise, until you get those trailers set up?
We're hoping to bring the trailers in right away and to set up the. Are you asking for like the job site trailers on how we talked about stacking on the connexes?
Yeah, it looks like you guys. Yeah, you guys do show job trailers, but it looks like it's part of a later phase, so it's after your hoisting phase. So I was just curious where the staff is going to work out of until you get those trailers there.
Well, we have the trailers located up in the corner away from where the hoisting is located. So we're going to be bringing the trailers in right at the beginning of the project to be able to work out of.
Okay.
I'm sure that there'll be some changes as like your MEPs will probably, if they don't have a whole lot going on right away, their trailer might not be in there right away, but once their work commences, they'll be able to move their trailer in at that point.
Yeah, and when earthwork starts and we're bringing trailers in, we can always run construction activities out of our office in Nashville.
Okay, thank you. I've got a quick question. Can you tell me a little bit about your construction sequence with the rotunda? Is it going to fall in line with the rest of the building, or is it coming after? And how do you anticipate to build the dome itself?
So we include the rotunda as phase 3. We're going to assemble the dome on the ground in 4 parts and hoist it up onto the precast ring.
Great.
All right, Daniel, did you have any questions?
Yeah, I saw that you included a narrative with your site logistics plan. Thank you for doing that. One of the things I didn't see addressed in that narrative is the protection of the historical building, but it is called out on the logistics plan. Can you walk through what that might entail?
Yeah, so we will start out by setting out a fence. That'll be the pretty standard to make sure that everybody stays away from it and knows. We will also be setting up, when things get a little more hectic over there, we'll set up like a 5-foot buffer zone around it to make sure that nobody's stacking any type of material too close to the building that could possibly tip over and do any sort of damage. So we'll make sure we keep a 5-foot buffer zone around it just to make sure that nobody's stacking things too close, nobody's kind of getting too close to it. Also, if we feel like it's necessary, we could add extra tall fencing or anything like that to help protect it. But there will be protections around there and a little buffer zone to make sure that nobody's going too close to it or stacking stuff too close for accidental damages.
And we'll make sure to have some vibration monitoring on there, so when they're doing excavation and driving cranes around, none of the brick is gonna start to crumble or anything like that.
Tommy, if you want to go to someone else, that's good for me.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a few questions. We still have a bit of time here left for questions, probably 8 minutes or so, 8 to 9 minutes. One of the ones I had for you was we had asked everybody to identify 5 high-risk features of the project, and we saw in your proposal you guys had 3 listed. So I was wondering if you could elaborate on what you think an additional 2 high-risk features of the project are, and then let us know why you think they're high risk and how you think you would mitigate those risks.
So another high-risk feature that we could add to this would be that vibration risk to that existing building, the excavation and not necessarily the direct damage from something physically hitting it, but the damage of, you know, the ground shaking due to the cranes, all the activity going on next door. So that could possibly be a high-risk situation. We have that covered with the vibration monitors, and we'll be continually monitoring the building, making sure that there is no new cracks. We will inspect the building to see the current condition it's in and make sure that it stays that way. If something is starting to go where our sensors are picking up too much, or we're sensing cracks in the brick that were not there before, proper precautions will be taken at that time to make sure that that does not affect the building going forward.
Another high-risk thing would be just the safety of subs and employees right now, and trying to keep them all apart from each other and aligning their schedules to make sure that if they're working in a small area, we don't have people from multiple companies all trying to do stuff in the same spot, and trying to keep the same groups of people who work together usually together so we're not spreading anything, along with making sure there's hand washing stations and hand sanitizer and stuff that's easily accessible for people.
All right, thank you for that. Amanda, did you and your team have any other questions you wanted to ask?
Just real quick, can you guys remind me, what was your EMR rating for your company?
Well, I believe our AMR rating was 0.5 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly, but it was well under the 1 benchmark.
Okay.
Did you guys identify any long lead materials that would put the project at risk?
Precast panels, there's quite a long lead time on those, especially with the architectural details included in them. And then structural steel has had a considerable lead time here recently.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll be working early to make sure that we get those items taken care of, submittals taken care of and everything early, so we can start getting those coming. And we'll be making sure that we pick subcontractors who can handle the load. We don't want to, you know, on a scale of this size of project, we don't want to go with a steel manufacturer who can't handle this kind of a project in a timely manner. So we're going to make sure that we also pick partners who are willing to and are able to be able to keep up with our demands on this type of the scale of a project.
Cool. I've got one more question. Can you guys elaborate on your warranty process? What does it look like with when I want to make a call to you guys a year from now? How is that going to work, and how fast can you close out items?
So we have a crew, they're our special construction crew. They do small projects in the area, but they also take care of our warranty work. So when you say you have an issue, come a year later, we'll have our special construction guy go over, check out the issue, you know, kind of evaluate it, what all needs to happen with it. We will then send that crew out there to take care of it within a timely manner. If it's you know, within a week, if it's something simple. If we need material or something, whatever lead time that would take, but we'll be getting on it right away. That crew we do have a crew located in Nashville that can take care of that type of problem, and they specialize in that sort of process.
Great.
All right. Daniel, did you have any other questions? Okay. I've got 2, and then unless anybody can think of any more, we'll wrap it up. So my first question was about your QC plan. Looking through your plan, I wasn't really clear who has the authority to stop work for QC deficiencies that are found on site. Can you elaborate on who's got the authority on your team to stop work for QC deficiencies?
Yep. So for our quality control deficiencies, our quality control manager can stop work if he sees that fit. Our superintendent can. Our project manager. Really, anybody who sees, the only one we don't ask for the main carpenter to necessarily do a whole stop work order. He can bring it to the attention of the quality control manager, and then have the quality control manager address the situation, put a stop work on it. Superintendent can do that same kind of situation, but we'd like to document the stop work, make sure that it's handled well, and that then the quality control manager can also help with the addressing of the problem to make sure that it's not a problem moving forward, so that there's no more stop work kind of issues like that. So we'd like it to run through the quality control manager. The superintendent or project manager can also have that type of authority.
Okay. Very good. And then my final question is on, again, significant scopes of work. We asked for you guys to identify a few different scopes of work, I think 3 in total, and it looks like you had just highlighted one, the steel, as a significant scope. Can you elaborate on what you think the other 2 most major critical scopes of work are?
I think one of them is definitely cast in place concrete with the foundation, because that is what gets the ball rolling on the project. And if there's any indiscrepancies in the schedule of when cast in place is being poured, or if there was faulty cast in place, that'll screw up the whole entire schedule of the project. So it's really important that we ensure we get the cast in place poured correctly, on time, quickly, and efficiently to get the whole project moving right away. That would definitely be a important scope of work.
All right. And what about a second one?
Another one would be the precast. That'd be obviously a very large scope of this type of project. We need to make sure that our precast guys or the manufacturers are on time with the panels themselves. If that gets delayed or anything happens with that process, then our schedule could easily take a severe hit from that. So that's kind of a key item for us, is to make sure that the lead times on the precast are handled and everything's ordered ahead of time and correct. But then also with the erection of that, there's a lot of time in that, so we need to make sure that that is efficient, and because if that type of process goes awry, that could seriously hurt the project schedule, especially with the time that it would take to remanufacture some of these panels and recreate the situation. So we need to make sure that system runs smooth, and we will work our best to make sure that that happens.
All right. Well, thank you for that. One more quick pass if anybody has any last questions. We've got time for a few more, but.
What do you guys see as the biggest risk for the project?
The biggest risk, I would say, is just the location of it. We're located, it's right downtown Nashville. It's very tight quarters. We're working with the traffic to make sure that, with the working around of the busy times of the day, to make sure our deliveries are accepted well. Trying to manage the pedestrians and make sure that people are respecting the site. Trying to be able to contain it so that people are not coming into the site out of the working hours. It's just kind of the tight quarters of it I see being the biggest risk, but we're working hard to make sure that we manage it with the cranes located in these tight quarters and the deliveries and all that. But that's kind of the biggest risk I see on this type of project.
Great, thank you.
All right. Well, I think that wraps us up. We all appreciate all the effort you guys have put into this. So you're definitely commended for it. Good job. We appreciate you sticking through it. We know this is kind of drug out much longer than the typical competition. Can't say enough about how impressed we are with you guys sticking through it over the summer and all the challenges that I'm sure that you faced. So definitely pat yourselves on the back. We'll look forward to hopefully seeing you in a few hours here for the debrief. Amanda and her team are going to have a great presentation put together. They're going to be able to go through and kind of give you a deep dive on the project and the challenges they faced as they've built it. And then we'll give you guys a chance as well to ask us some questions about our challenges and how we face them. So thanks again for all your hard work and your efforts, and we'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Great
Take
job,
care.
guys.